Welcome to Japan Explained, a multicultural podcast between two fun ladies, Jean and Yoko. I'm Jean, and my friend Yoko has been living in the US for 10 years. I've been going back and forth to Japan for almost 40 years. We want to share so many secrets about Japan's culture with you. Right now, we're working on a book called Japan Explained. You don't want to miss it. So subscribe to our podcast or our YouTube channel and keep track of all the latest on www.japanexplained.net. Hi, my name is Jean.
Hi, I'm Yoko.
We are excited to launch a podcast called Japan Explained. It is all about what makes Japan tick. So if you're thinking of visiting Japan, maybe you have plans and are working out your itinerary right now, or maybe you've been to Japan before and are trying to understand it better. If any of that is you, this podcast is for you. But first, let's introduce ourselves. Yoko, do you want to start?
Sure, thank you, Jean. So this year, 2026, marks my 10th year living in the United States. My Japanese husband was transferred to the US office, and my son and I came with him. So we live in San Jose in the Bay Area of Northern California for the first 7 years. My son graduated from middle school and high school in a school district close to Apple's headquarters, and he is now live alone as a university student. I worked for a contract company for Google and then also worked in engineer roles at Tesla. Now, I live in Southern California with my husband due to his work. After I moved to Southern California, I tried writing my first book. So, what about you, Jean? How did you get interested in Japan?
Well, to be honest, I've been hearing about Japan and China and Asia all of my life. My father was born in the Philippines, in Manila, in 1934, and he grew up in Manila and in Hong Kong and in Hawaii. And then he also fought in the Vietnam War. He was stationed in Korea. So he was always telling me about these wonderful adventures, or not always wonderful, but he was having adventures in Asia, and I was very curious about it. So as soon as I was old enough, when I was in college, I joined an exchange student program, and I lived with a family, a Japanese family in Osaka for a couple of months. And I have to say, I've never really left Japan behind. I came back to Japan after graduating and I studied the language and I taught English, and then I worked for some Japanese companies, and I've been going back and forth to Japan ever since then. So to be honest with you, I never really left it behind. And this year, actually 1 month from the time that we're recording, I will publish my first book, which is about a Japanese poet. So yeah, I've been thinking about Japan a lot. But Yoko, I wanted to ask you, if it's okay, 1 or 2 more questions about your background, because I'm really interested. So you've been living in the United States for 10 years, but when you and your son and your husband came, so your son just had to go to school at a regular American school, right?
Yeah.
And how was his English in those days?
Actually, at that time, he couldn't understand English, not at all. Actually, me either. That was so challenging for us.
Yeah, that must have been really, really hard. Was he
Yeah.
able to make friends?
His school has some ESL classes. Yeah, so that is why they has few students who came from other countries, and then my son had a friend who had a similar situation.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he was also, his friend also was learning English, so they learned English together.
Yes, right.
Wow. And now you said he's going to college in
Yeah, so
California?
yeah, in California.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
amazing. Yeah, I'm really proud of him.
So his English must be like really good now.
Really good now. Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, I want to talk to him about that sometime. But anyway, let's
Yeah.
talk. Oh, I wanted to ask you one more question. Tell me about your book that you wrote.
Yeah, my book is written for Japanese people who have interested in the life in the US. And then I wrote about daily life or education system and getting job like that. And then especially I focus on the kids. So I interviewed to the kids who came from other country and they had an education in the US, and then how they feeling, like which country is hometown, or who am I? So most of the kids who came from other country feel like that. So I focus on like their feelings as well. And then also how to get the job, because interview process or something, every process is completely different.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
talk about this on on this podcast too. I think
Yeah.
that would be really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, wow, that's fascinating. And that book is written in Japanese, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So anyone who's listening to this podcast, if you're curious about Yoko's book, or if you're curious about my book, which is written in English, check down in the comments below and you can
Yeah.
find more. All right.
Right.
So Yoko, now
Mhm.
let's talk about this podcast. I think this podcast was your idea. So can you tell me, how did that come about?
Well, I wrote the book for Japanese who are interested in life in the US. But at the same time, I realized that many people in the US are interested in Japan. And many of them are learning the Japanese language and the culture. I'm very surprised and happy at the same time. And recently, so many people have been visiting Japan. Sometimes the Japanese people think it's too much, and sometimes because the culture are so different. So there can be misunderstandings. Sometimes there are even hurt feelings. So I thought that by having deep conversation about Japanese culture and the custom, and exploring why people behave and think the way they do, maybe I could provide people who are interested in Japan with a deeper understanding and hint on how to build the relationship without misunderstanding. And I thought you could help me because you are also interested in Japan, already have experience in Japan, and you have really different perspective from me as an American. How do you think?
I think it's a great idea. I really do. I love Japan, of course. And I've been traveling to Japan for years and years, but there are still so many things I don't understand. And tell me, though, more about what you mean about in-depth conversations. Who are we going to talk to, and what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, well, I've been thinking, what if we find guest speakers who can give us their personal opinions on this? For example, if we want to tell our listener about Japan's trains and why they almost always run on time and are so clean and safe and efficient. But then weird things like why there are not enough garbage cans and why there are yellow lines along the platform. So why don't we actually ask someone who works on the railroad?
That's Great. So we would interview someone, a Japanese person who works for the railroad. I think that's perfect. And I want to understand more about taxis and buses too. So maybe we can interview taxi drivers and bus drivers.
Sure. And maybe we can find a teacher and talk to him about Japan's education system.
And maybe an American who started a business in Japan.
And the restaurant owners.
And a tech entrepreneur.
Sure, let's try it.
Okay, but what if they don't speak English? How are we going to do that?
Yes, that's a challenge. So I think we can use piece of what they say in their original voice in Japanese, and then we can translate it and talk about what they said.
Ah, I like that because a lot of people are studying Japanese these days and would like to learn more Japanese.
Do you think so?
Yes, I do. Good idea.
Wow. So what do you think people want to hear about? What sort of topics should we focus on?
Oh gosh, there's so many things. Let's start with things like food culture or bath culture or riding the buses, riding the trains. What's it like to go to school? There are so many things. And then after we've been doing it for a while, when we've interviewed a whole group of people and posted a lot of podcasts, you know what we could do? Should we tell them?
Yeah, sure. Tell them.
We want to compile this whole thing into a book that we will call Japan Explained. So if you hear something first on this podcast, but you forgot about it, maybe you couldn't keep track of it, don't worry. Just follow us on our website, which is www.japanexplained.net, and we'll let you know when the book comes out. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast.
Wow, I can't wait. This sounds like so much fun.
I think it sounds like so much work.
Yeah, lots of works, but I'm up for it. I want to try.
And if any of our listeners out there have ideas, suggestions of what you'd like to know about or who we should interview, or maybe we should interview you, let us know. Go to our website and send us a message. We can't wait to make you part of our little Japan Explained community.
Yeah. Okay, then that's all for today. Tune in next time when we talk about our first topic. What is going to be?
Trains. I think it needs to be trains. I mean, how is it possible that Japan's trains run so well? They're always so on time. How do they do it?
All right. Then don't miss it, you guys. We will be back soon
with more Japan Explained.
So, bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.